The stars screamed before anyone could hear them. At first, the noise was not sound, not light, not anything the Galactic Council truly understood. It was a pulse, sharp and violent, that tore across dark space like a wave through black water. Ancient satellites, machines older than some empires, shook in their orbits. Their metal frames cracked, their data cores burned. Whole networks went blind in a single heartbeat. At the center of this chaos was Earth. The Galactic Council had long known of this blue planet. To them, it was small, unimportant, a world of oceans, forests, and a noisy young species that claimed too much pride for too little strength. The humans had no place among the stars, at least in the Council's judgment. They were tolerated, but ignored, like children shouting in the back of a grand hall. But on this day, something changed. The pulse rippled outward, crossing systems faster than thought. Council scientists scrambled to measure it, but their instruments failed one by one. Shields meant for warships flickered and died. Long-range scanners went blind. In the void between suns, fleets lost their navigation. The council chamber, an endless circle of towering seats, each holding the leaders of ancient civilizations, fell into confusion. Holograms glitched, transmissions failed, every leader spoke at once, demanding answers. And then, as silence settled, the message came. It was not words, it was not code, it was something older. A signal buried deep in the universe, vibrating through the bones of every creature who heard it. It was a warning. It was a promise. Earth had awoken. The first 5 minutes hook. On a barren moon near the rim of the galaxy, an old listening post caught the signal first. The station commander, a reptilian officer named Vaynar, had survived 3 wars. He had seen fleets burn, planets crack, and species vanish. But when the pulse hit, he froze. His scaled hands trembled on the console. The sound was inside his skull. Not a voice, not a command, but a feeling. Fury. A cold fury stretching across the stars. His crew cried out, covering their ears though nothing touched them. Some collapsed, twitching. Others screamed as if burned. Vaynar staggered to his feet, forcing his eyes open. On his screen, a simple line of text appeared in a language the Council had long forgotten. "We are awake." Vaynar's throat locked. He knew no human could have sent this. Their ships, their technology, their communication systems, primitive by Council standards. And yet here it was, written in the old tongue, a language no living species was supposed to know. The commander whispered to himself, his voice shaking. This is impossible. In the Council's core world, chaos spread like fire. The Caliph, winged lords of the stars, beat their feathered arms against their seats, demanding immediate war. The massive Hruk, creatures of stone and iron, bellowed that it was a natural event not worth panic. Smaller races argued, shrieked, begged for calm. The High Speaker of the Council, an ancient being whose skin shimmered like liquid silver, raised his hand for order. His voice rolled across the chamber, smooth but heavy. We must understand this disturbance. Our fleets are blind. Our networks have collapsed, yet the signal did not strike at random. It began at one place. The chamber went quiet. Earth. The word hung like a curse. For centuries, Earth had been treated as irrelevant, a minor member. Of the Council's outer territories, its people too stubborn, too wild, too fragile to matter. Humans were soldiers, laborers, explorers, never rulers, never leaders. And now this. The Caliph ambassador spread his wings wide, feathers sparking with static. They dare challenge us with tricks, crush them now before their noise spreads. But the Hruk general growled low. No, I have seen this before. Not from them, but from others. Long ago, a species once ignored became a storm. The Council did not listen then. The Council was nearly destroyed. The chamber darkened as holograms returned to life. A map of the galaxy spread across the air, glowing lines showing the signal's expansion. At the center burned Earth, brighter and brighter, a sun too fierce to look at. The High Speaker frowned, his silver form rippling. "This is no trick. Earth has sent something older than any weapon. We must discover how." Across human space, strange events unfolded. In the Atlantic Ocean, deep below black waters, ancient machines stirred. They rose from the abyss, metal leviathans glowing with forgotten power. On the frozen plains of Antarctica, vast structures broke the ice, climbing into the sky like towers from myth. On the far side of the moon, a hidden fleet powered on, lights igniting after centuries of silence. The people of Earth looked up at the sky in fear and awe. For generations, humans believed themselves weak beside alien empires. But now, humanity's hidden legacy was rising. They did not yet understand it. They did not yet control it. But it was theirs, and the galaxy trembled. The Council sent spies. Silent probes slipped into Earth's orbit. They scanned, measured, recorded. What they found terrified them. Earth's energy levels had risen beyond calculation. Cities glowed like stars, powered by cores unknown to science. Human ships, once slow, fragile things, moved with impossible speed, bending space like ripples on water. Most alarming of all were the weapons. Not missiles, not lasers, something new, something the probes could not describe before they were destroyed. One by one, the probes vanished. No wreckage, no trace, only silence. The Council knew then that Earth was no longer sleeping. In the Council chamber, the High Speaker addressed the leaders again. "We ignored them. We dismissed them. Now their silence has ended. We must choose. Do we speak to them, or do we strike before they strike us?" The Caliph shrieked for war. The Rook warned of disaster. The smaller races whispered in terror, and far away on a lonely moon, Commander Vanar recorded his final message before vanishing. He looked into the recorder, his scales pale, his eyes wide. "To the Council, to any who survive, do not underestimate Earth. The signal was not a weapon, it was a warning. And I believe—" His voice broke. He glanced over his shoulder as though something unseen stood behind him. "I believe we are already too late." The transmission ended. The chamber froze. No one spoke. No one moved. The words hung heavy in the air. Too late. The first death came before the Council even knew war had begun. On a distant frontier world, a small colony vanished in a single night. There was no battle, no signal of distress. One moment the settlement lights glowed across the desert plains. The next, the entire world lay in silence. Orbiting patrol ships reported nothing but empty cities and cold ruins. There were no bodies. Only shadows burned into walls, shapes of people frozen in their final moments. When the reports reached the Galactic Council, the chamber erupted. Leaders shouted across the hall. Some claimed it was Earth's new weapon. Others swore it was impossible. But in the silence between their arguments, one voice rose above the rest, an archivist. Her name was Mayan, a frail figure with grey skin and hollow eyes. She carried ancient scrolls on her back, her life devoted to preserving history long forgotten. When she spoke, her voice trembled but carried weight. This has happened before. The council chamber fell silent. Mayan unrolled a fragment of ancient writing, its surface cracked and yellow. She lifted it high so the council could see. These marks describe a war fought thousands of years ago. A war the council itself tried to erase. The enemy was not another empire, it was Earth. Shock rolled through the chamber. The Caliph beat their wings in fury, denying it. The Hrooks slammed their stone fists on the floor, demanding proof. But the archivist stood firm. She projected images from the fragment into the air. Holograms showed ships shaped like blades of light, worlds burning, alien armies fleeing. And at the center of every battle, the same blue planet. Earth, the Council, had always claimed that humanity was young, that their climb into the stars was recent and clumsy. But Mayan spoke the truth hidden for ages. They were never weak. They were never young. Humanity fought a war before your ancestors built their first ships. They faced an enemy we could not defeat. They destroyed it. And when the war ended, they vanished from the stars. They hid their strength. They erased their own legacy. And the council, fearing what they could become, buried the truth. The chamber shivered with fear. If this was true, Earth had not simply awoken. Earth had remembered. On a council research station orbiting a dying sun, scientists dug deeper. They opened sealed vaults that had not been touched in centuries. Within them lay recordings too dangerous to share. The images were grainy, but clear. Towering human war machines striding across alien battlefields. Human fleets punching holes through armadas 10 times their size. A single human commander standing at the center of burning stars, shouting orders in a language that made the walls tremble. The forgotten war was real, and the records ended with a single message carved into stone. Never again shall Earth rise unless the stars themselves betray us. The Council had betrayed them. Across the galaxy, fear spread faster than fire. The smaller races whispered to one another in secret. If Earth had once destroyed an ancient enemy, what chance did anyone have now? Entire colonies began to swear loyalty to humanity, hoping for mercy. The Council tried to hide the truth, but rumors moved faster than any fleet. On a frozen mining world, workers gathered around a single communicator, replaying the pulse that had shaken the stars. Each time they heard it, they trembled. Some dropped their tools and refused to work, claiming Earth had spoken directly into their minds. Others fell to their knees, calling humanity the new masters of the galaxy, and in the farthest sectors, warlords began to arm themselves. They believed the Council was finished, and Earth was unstoppable. But some still swore to resist. The High Speaker summoned a private meeting of the most powerful leaders. Around a long, dark table sat the rulers of the Caliph, the Hruk, the Solari, and other ancient species who had ruled the galaxy for ages. The Caliph Lord spread his wings wide, eyes glowing with fury. This is treason. These records are lies. Humanity is a child race, nothing more. Their signal is a trick to scare us. We must strike now before their deception grows. The Hruk general slammed his stone fist against the table. The impact shook the chamber. Lies? No. I saw those records when I was young. My teachers told me to forget them, but I did not. The humans fought the unspoken enemy. They were the only species to survive. And if they rise again, no force in this galaxy will stop them. The Solari Queen, her body shimmering like glass, whispered softly, "Then we are already doomed. The pulse was not meant for us. It was meant for something older, something still hiding in the dark." The leader stared at her in silence. "Are you saying the enemy they destroyed is returning?" the High Speaker asked. The Queen nodded. "Yes, and Earth has awakened to fight it once more. But if we stand in their way, they will destroy us first." Earth moves on Earth, strange events grew stronger. Across the oceans, massive machines broke free from the deep. Entire cities lit up with energy not seen before. A fleet of ships appeared from beneath the ice, rising into orbit like ghosts from another age. The humans were silent. No messages, no warnings, only movement. Council fleets moved cautiously into Earth's orbit. They watched from a distance, afraid to cross an invisible line. One small cruiser ventured closer, scanning the human ships. It never returned. The cruiser did not explode. It did not burn. It simply vanished, erased from reality in an instant. The Council watched in horror as its signal disappeared, leaving only silence. Earth had drawn its line. Back in the archives, Mayan uncovered one final record. It was written in a language so old, even the translation machine struggled. She read it aloud to the council chamber. The humans called themselves defenders. They did not conquer. They did not enslave. They existed only to protect life from what they called the great enemy. But when the war was over, they turned their backs on the stars. They swore never to rise again unless the council became the very thing they once destroyed. The words echoed through the chamber. The Caliph Lord hissed in rage. Defenders? Protectors? Lies. They destroyed more worlds than they saved. They are monsters hiding behind noble words, but deep inside, the council knew the truth. The humans had not risen for power. They had risen because something far worse was coming, and the council had only one question left. Would Earth see them as allies or as enemies to be removed before the real war began? The skies over Earth turned red before the council's eyes. It began with the auroras. Across the northern hemisphere, shimmering waves of color filled the night sky. Green and blue gave way to burning crimson. The lights twisted and pulsed like a heartbeat. Then they spread southward, glowing brighter until every continent stood beneath a blood-colored sky. At first, humans cheered. They thought it was a wonder of nature. Families gathered outside, children pointing upward in awe. But joy turned to fear when the lights began to hum. The sound was not in the air. It was inside their bones. Every human felt it. A low, steady thrum that matched the rhythm of their own hearts. Above them, satellites burst into flame. In orbit, the Council fleet watched in horror as their systems collapsed. Shields flickered and died. Engines stuttered. Weapons froze. Their captains shouted orders, but their voices broke with fear. It was as if the planet itself had reached upward and gripped their ships with invisible hands. And then came the blinding flash. For one long second, the entire galaxy lit up. Stars dimmed before the brilliance of Earth. Instruments burned out. Command screens turned white. When the light faded, silence filled the void. The fleet hung powerless above the planet, and Earth was awake. Human awakening. Beneath the oceans, titanic machines rose from the depths. Their hulls were scarred with age, yet they moved with perfect grace. Towers of steel emerged from trenches deeper than mountains, glowing with power no alien could name. In Antarctica, the ice split apart. Hidden below for centuries, vast hangars opened to the sky. Black ships with wings like blades lifted into the air, engines roaring with a sound that shook the heavens. On the far side of the moon, an entire fleet powered on. Once buried in silence, the ships lit up like a second constellation. Their hulls bore markings older than history itself. The humans watched in shock. The governments of Earth did not understand. Their leaders gave no orders. This was not their doing. It was older, deeper. Humanity had inherited something it never knew existed, and yet, as fear spread across Earth, another feeling grew: pride. For the first time, humans realized the truth. They were not weak. They were not small. They were the heirs of giants. Council panic. The council leaders screamed in the chamber. Holograms of Earth glowed above their seats, showing every rise of power, every new machine. They were supposed to be children. The Caliph Lord shrieked, feathers flaring. They were supposed to crawl on their world forever. This is treachery. This is war. The Hruk general slammed his fists against the floor. This is not war. This is awakening. Look at them. They are not building. They are remembering. This power was always theirs. The Solari Queen leaned forward, her glass-like body flickering. If they remember everything, none of us will survive. Not unless we choose our side now. The chamber shook with shouts and rage. Some demanded an immediate strike. Others demanded surrender. The High Speaker raised his silver hand, silencing all. We are no longer deciding the fate of Earth, he said. His voice was heavy with dread. We are deciding the fate of ourselves, Earth responds. For 3 days, Earth remained silent. No messages, no demands, only movement. Council fleets circled the planet but dared not attack. They watched as the human machines aligned themselves in orbit. Black ships formed patterns like constellations. Energy surged between them, weaving a net of power across the sky. When the 4th day came, Earth finally spoke. It was not a voice through radio. It was not text on a screen. It was a pulse inside every mind. You forgot who we are. You forgot what we fought. We did not rise for power. We rise because the stars are in danger once more. The council chamber froze. Every leader felt the message as though whispered into their soul. The Caliph Lord tried to laugh, but his voice cracked. They claim to rise for the galaxy's sake. Lies, all lies. They rise for domination, but the smaller races looked at one another with hope. If Earth was not their conqueror, maybe it was their shield. A test of power, the Council dared one more move. They sent a fleet of 50 ships toward Earth's orbit, led by Admiral Kur, a veteran of countless wars. His fleet carried the Council's most advanced weapons. He was ordered to test humanity's defenses. The fleet approached slowly. Humans did not respond. Kur gave the order. 50 warships fired as one. Beams of light, brighter than suns, tore through the void, aimed at Earth's hidden fleet, but the human ships did not move. The beams bent away, as though the void itself had curved. The Council's fire never touched its target. Instead, the energy twisted, coiled, and was swallowed by the black wings of the human ships. Their hulls glowed brighter with stolen power. Admiral Kur watched in horror. He ordered retreat. But it was too late. The human fleet fired once, not with beams, not with missiles, but with something else. Space itself rippled like water. The Council ships stretched, warped, and vanished. 50 warships, gone in silence. Only Kur's flagship remained, drifting powerless. A human ship appeared beside it, silent and vast. Then the message came, "Leave." This was a warning. "Next time will be the end." The flagship was spared, left to crawl back to the Council in shame. Whispers in the galaxy news spread like fire. 50 ships gone in a single breath. Entire fleets powerless. Earth commanding the stars themselves. On distant colonies, fear turned to worship. Statues of humans rose overnight, carved by alien hands. Songs were sung of the defenders who had returned, but not all believed. Some rulers prepared their armies, swearing that Earth's mercy was a trick. Others begged to join them, offering tribute before the humans even asked. And all the while, in the dark beyond the galactic rim, the old enemy stirred. Humanity's secret on Earth. A council of human leaders gathered for the first time. They demanded answers. Where had these machines come from? Who built the fleets? Why had no one known? Scientists searched records long buried. They found fragments of truth. Thousands of years ago, humanity had faced the great enemy. To survive, they built weapons unlike anything in the galaxy. When victory came, the survivors hid the machines, erasing every trace of the war. They wanted to forget. But the machines never slept. They waited for the signal that the enemy had returned. And now, with the Council fractured and the galaxy trembling, the defenders of Earth had awakened once more. A shadow appears on the edge of known space. A Council scout ship picked up a new signal. It was not from Earth, it was deeper, darker, a pulse that felt like hunger. The ship's captain stared at the readings. Stars flickered and died in its path. Entire systems went silent. And in the blackness a shape moved, not a fleet, not a planet. Something larger. The captain's final message was brief. It is coming. The transmission ended in static. Back in the Council chamber, leaders argued once more. But this time, their voices were weaker. Their power was fading. The High Speaker looked around the hall, his silver body trembling. We thought Earth was our enemy. But now I wonder, if this shadow is the true threat, then humanity is the only shield we have left. The question is, will they save us? Or will they destroy us before the darkness arrives? Above Earth, the skies glowed brighter, red auroras twisting like fire. Human fleets spread across the stars, silent and unstoppable. The galaxy held its breath, and far beyond the rim, the forgotten enemy opened its eyes. The Council chamber shook with the sound of breaking glass. It was not glass at all, but the shimmering shields that kept the chamber safe. They flickered, cracked, and failed as the human pulse echoed again across the galaxy. Lights dimmed, holograms sputtered. For one terrifying moment, every leader sat in darkness. When the lights returned, the chamber was chaos. The Caliph spread their wings, shrieking for war. The Rooks slammed their stone fists on the ground, warning that war meant doom. The Solari Queen whispered that the shadow beyond the rim was already moving closer, and the smaller races, caught between fear and desperation, shouted for protection from anyone who could give it. The High Speaker raised his silver hand for silence, but silence no longer obeyed him. The council was breaking. In the outer sectors, rebellion had already begun. Whole colonies tore down the banners of the council. Some raised the mark of Earth, carving crude human faces into their walls. Others declared independence, swearing they would serve no master at all. On one desert moon, a Caliph governor was dragged from his palace by his own people. They painted the sky with fire, shouting the same words again and again. The defenders have returned. The message spread faster than fleets could fly, and in the heart of the galaxy, the council could no longer agree on anything. Fractures. The Caliph Lord beat his wings, feathers glowing with sparks. We must crush Earth now. If we delay, they will grow stronger. The galaxy will fall under their rule, and all we have built will be ashes. The Hruk general rose to his full height, a living wall of stone. His voice thundered, "Fool, we tried to crush them once. Our ancestors failed. They burned 1,000 fleets and stood unbroken. Now their power is greater than ever. Attack, and we invite our own extinction." The Solari Queen spoke softly, her voice like breaking glass. "The choice is not war or peace. The choice is death by our hands or death by the shadow. Do you not feel it? The darkness moves already. Earth rises because it must. They do not fight for conquest. They fight because the end comes." Her words fell heavy across the chamber. Some listened, others scoffed. The High Speaker finally stood, his silver body trembling with anger. "We cannot divide now. If we fracture, the galaxy will collapse. I call for unity. I call for—" But his voice was drowned by shouts. Unity was dead. Secret talks while the council screamed. Smaller delegations slipped away. Ambassadors of minor races gathered in hidden halls, whispering their plans. The reptilian Vaynar's people, long treated as pawns in council wars, declared they would send envoys directly to Earth, begging for mercy. The insectoid Kith agreed, promising to deliver resources in exchange for protection. Even the fragile glass-like Solari considered abandoning the chamber and swearing loyalty to humanity. Others plotted darker schemes. The Caliph gathered their generals in silence, planning a secret strike against Earth's fleets before the rest of the council could interfere. They swore their race would not kneel, and in the shadows of the chamber, spies listened, carrying every word back to human ears. The first act of betrayal came within hours. A Caliph fleet, cloaked in darkness, left its homeworld and moved toward Earth. They carried weapons built in secret, weapons forbidden by council law. Black suns, bombs meant to tear whole planets apart. The Caliph believed Earth was unprepared. They believed they could strike fast and escape before the humans answered. They were wrong. As their fleet crossed into human space, every ship froze. Lights died. Engines failed. The Caliph commanders screamed for answers, but their ships no longer obeyed. Then out of the void, the human fleet appeared. Silent, endless. One by one, the Caliph ships vanished, swallowed by ripples in the dark. No explosions. No wreckage, only silence. Hours later, a single Caliph warship was returned to council space. Its hull was scarred with strange marks. Inside, every crew member was alive, but their minds were broken. They repeated the same words over and over. "Do not test us again." Fear and collapse news of the failed strike spread quickly. The Caliph were humiliated. Their enemies laughed. Their allies abandoned them. In the council chamber, the Caliph Lord demanded vengeance, but no one followed. The smaller races moved faster. Entire delegations broke away, flying to Earth's orbit to swear loyalty. Human fleets welcomed them without words. Colonies across the stars declared independence from the council. Trade routes collapsed. Armies deserted. The council, once a pillar of unity, crumbled piece by piece. Humanity speaks again. On the 5th day of the division, Earth finally spoke once more. The message was not carried by machines. It was felt in every living mind. We did not rise for war. We did not rise for conquest. We rise because the shadow stirs. The council divided itself. Choose now. Stand with us, or be swept away when the darkness arrives. The chamber shook with panic. Some leaders wept openly, begging to submit. Others screamed in denial. The Caliph swore vengeance. The Hruk bowed their heads, knowing the truth of Earth's words. And the Solari Queen whispered to her people, "The age of the Council is over. The age of defenders begins." Seeds of civil war broke out within days. In one system, Caliph ships clashed with Hruk war fleets. Cities burned. Planets screamed. Both sides blamed each other for the Council's weakness. On another world, loyalists to the Council executed rebels who carried human banners. In response, human fleets appeared above the planet, disabling the loyalist armies without firing a shot. The rebels cheered. The Council cursed. The galaxy no longer had one ruler. It had many, and at the center of them all stood Earth. Shadows at the edge as the Council tore itself apart. The shadow beyond the rim moved closer. Entire stars flickered and vanished. Scout ships sent to investigate never returned. The few that escaped spoke of shapes too large to comprehend, moving between the suns. The archivist Mayan studied old records again and again. The great enemy had returned. The war humanity once fought was not finished, and this time the galaxy was weaker than before. In the council chamber, the High Speaker sat alone. Around him, empty seats glowed faintly. Half the council had abandoned him. Others were dead. Only fragments remained, he whispered to himself. We thought we ruled the stars, but we were only guests. Humanity has returned, and the shadow follows them. We cannot fight both. As he spoke, a new pulse echoed through the galaxy. Not from Earth, not from the Council. From the darkness itself, every system felt it. Every creature trembled. It was hunger-made sound. And on Earth, the human fleets turned as one toward the galactic rim. The shadow had arrived. The stars screamed. It was not sound, but every mind felt it. A deep vibration rolled through the galaxy, shaking worlds, cracking moons, and boiling seas. Animals panicked. Machines failed. Even the bravest soldiers clutched their heads and begged for it to stop. The signal did not come from Earth. It came from the edge of the galaxy. From the shadow itself, the war humanity warned of had finally begun. In the council chamber, silence fell as the second pulse struck. The High Speaker's silver body flickered with static. He tried to rise, but his voice failed. All he could do was look at the empty seats, the abandoned symbols of a council already dead. Far away, the Caliph homeworld burned. The humans had spared them once. The shadow would not. Black shapes, larger than cities, drifted across the sky, blotting out suns. Their very presence drained life. Fields withered. Oceans curdled. People collapsed where they stood, eyes turning black. No weapon harmed the invaders. Plasma vanished against their skin. Rail cannons shattered without leaving a mark. The Caliph fleets fired until their guns melted, and still the shadows came. And then, through the darkness, a new light appeared. Earth's fleets had arrived. The human ships did not look like war machines. They glowed like living stars, shapes wrapped in energy, engines humming with impossible force. They moved without sound, without effort, as if the laws of physics bent to them. The shadows turned. For the first time they hesitated. Then the battle began. Human ships unleashed light so bright it tore holes in the void. Entire shadow creatures dissolved in a single strike, collapsing into nothing. Beams carved the sky, splitting the black into rivers of fire. But the enemy did not die easily. More shadows poured through the rim. They twisted, merged, and grew larger. Some stretched their limbs across entire continents, reaching to crush cities beneath their weight. Others wrapped around suns, choking the light. The humans fought without mercy, yet even they could not destroy them all. Witnesses of war across the galaxy, the battle was seen by every world. Not with eyes, but with minds. The fight between Earth and the shadows echoed through consciousness itself. Children screamed in their sleep. Leaders dropped to their knees. Whole civilizations watched the war inside their thoughts. For some, the sight gave hope. Humanity was not a myth. Humanity was salvation. For others, it gave only terror. If this was what Earth faced, then nothing could save them. In the council chamber, the remaining delegates turned to the High Speaker. "What do we do?" they cried. His silver face was blank. "There is nothing left for us to do," he whispered. "Only Earth can stand. Fury of the defenders. On the battlefield, human fury grew. A massive shadow beast clawed across the Caliph capital, tearing towers like grass. Its roar shook the ground. Caliph defenders fired until their weapons shattered, but the beast devoured everything in its path. Then a single human ship descended. Its hull shimmered with runes of fire. From it a figure stepped forth. Not in armor, not in flesh, but in a form made of light. The Caliph called it an angel. The shadows called it something else. Defender. With one gesture, the figure raised the ruins of a city into the sky. With another, the wreckage spun into a spear of energy. The spear flew, striking the beast through its chest. The monster dissolved into ash, leaving only silence. The Caliph, who had once sworn vengeance against Earth, fell to their knees. They no longer cursed humanity. They prayed to them, a growing storm, but victory did not last. For every shadow destroyed, two more emerged. The rim of the galaxy boiled with darkness. Whole star systems went dark. Communications died. Fleets were lost in seconds. The humans fought without pause, but even they were strained. Their ships glowed less brightly. Their figures of light began to flicker. For the first time, cracks appeared in the defenders' perfect shield. The galaxy trembled. If humanity fell, nothing else remained. The betrayal in the chaos, betrayal struck again. The Caliph, seeing Earth weakened, whispered among themselves. Some swore loyalty, others plotted revenge. They believed that if humanity and the shadows destroyed each other, the Caliph could rise as rulers of what was left. A Caliph fleet secretly armed a forbidden weapon, a starbreaker cannon hidden in the rings of their dying world. They aimed not at the shadows, but at Earth's ships. The weapon charged. Energy gathered, but before it could fire, a human voice filled the Caliph's minds. Calm, cold, we gave mercy once. There will not be a second time. The cannon shattered before it could fire. Every Caliph ship powered down. Systems failed. The humans had not destroyed them. They had simply removed their will to fight. The Caliph sat adrift in silence, powerless. As the shadows closed in, their betrayal had failed. The council's last choice back in the council chamber. Desperation grew. Delegates begged the High Speaker to act, to unite the fleets, to lead one last stand. But the Speaker only shook his head. The age of the council is over. We are no longer rulers. We are relics. The defenders are the only chance we have. Still, one choice remained. If the council bent the knee, openly, they might save what little power was left. The Solari Queen rose. Her glass skin glimmered. I will swear allegiance to Earth. They fight for us when we did not fight for them. They stand when we only divided. They are the defenders of us all, half the chamber agreed. The other half spat curses. Civil war was certain. Humanity's fury unleashed on the front lines. The shadows grew too strong. Even human fleets began to fall back. Whole constellations vanished into the dark. Then Earth unleashed its full fury. From the heart of the human fleet, a colossal vessel emerged. Larger than any world ship, glowing with fire brighter than suns. It was not a ship, but something more, something ancient. Its surface rippled with voices, with memories, with the very souls of those who had once fallen in the First War. It was the last gift of the old defenders. The vessel opened. From within poured a storm of light. Not weapons, but raw will. Every shadow it touched recoiled, shrieking, dissolving into smoke. The humans no longer fought with ships. They fought with the power of all who had died before them. The galaxy saw it. The galaxy felt it. For a single moment hope returned, but hope was fragile. The shadows screamed louder. From beyond the rim, something vast moved, larger than stars, older than time. The true heart of the darkness revealed itself. Even the human light faltered at its size. The battle was not over. It had only just begun, and as the galaxy watched in terror, the High Speaker whispered the words none wanted to hear. Earth's fury is not enough. The stars went dark, not one by one, not slowly, but all at once. A wave of black swept across the sky, swallowing constellations, smothering suns, and drowning galaxies in silence. Where there had been light, there was nothing. Where there had been heat, there was cold. Every living thing felt it. A crushing weight pressed against their chests. Hearts faltered. Breaths failed. For a single endless moment, the galaxy thought it had already died. Then the darkness spoke. It was not a voice. It was hunger given shape. Every creature heard it in their bones. You had your time. It is finished. Worlds cracked. Moons shattered. Fleets were hurled from their courses like toys. Even the mighty human ships shook under the weight of the sound. The true shadow had arrived. The shape in the void from the galactic rim. A form emerged. It was larger than any star, larger than 100 stars. Its body was not solid, but a storm of black tendrils, twisting endlessly, forming and unforming. Eyes too many to count opened and closed within its mass, each larger than a planet. Where its gaze fell, life withered. The smaller shadow creatures had been fragments of it, nothing but spilled pieces. Now the source had come. Even the defenders faltered. Humanity stands. The human fleet reformed in silence. Ships aligned. Engines flared. The great vessel at the center glowed brighter, answering the dark with defiance. A new voice filled the galaxy. Calm, steady, we do not kneel. The light surged. Waves of brilliance spread from the human fleet, burning back the tendrils. Shadows shrieked as their limbs dissolved. Whole fragments of the monster tore away, writhing in pain. For the first time, the galaxy saw the shadow recoil, but only for a moment. The counterstrike. The shadow lashed out. A tendril, thicker than a moon, slammed into a human ship. The vessel vanished in a storm of fire, its light ripped apart. Another tendril wrapped around 3 more, crushing them until nothing remained. The defenders fought back, but the cost grew. Their energy dimmed. Their glow weakened. For the first time since their return, humanity bled. Across the galaxy, watchers despaired. If the humans could fall, no one else had hope. The council's panic in the council chamber, terror reigned. Delegates screamed, fled, and begged for safety. Some called for surrender to Earth. Others demanded escape into deep space, abandoning the galaxy to its fate. The High Speaker slammed his silver fist onto the table. Silence! The shadow is here. If Earth falls, we fall with it. There is no escape. Choose now. Stand with the defenders or die alone. The chamber shook as the third pulse rolled across the stars. The choice was no longer theirs. Betrayal in the dark, but not all chose unity. A secret faction, led by remnants of the Caliph and their allies, sent a message into the void. They believed if they offered surrender, if they betrayed Earth, the shadow might spare them. Their signal reached the dark. The shadow listened. For a moment, silence followed. Then the traitor fleets turned on their allies, firing on human ships, crippling defenses, opening paths for the shadow's tendrils to strike. Billions watched in horror. The galaxy was not only at war with the shadow, it was at war with itself. Humanity's answer. The defenders did not hesitate. With a gesture of light, the betrayer fleets were erased. Not destroyed by weapons, not shattered by fire, but silenced. Their ships fell quiet, their engines dead, their crews vanished without a trace. The galaxy understood. There would be no forgiveness now. Humanity had warned them. Mercy had ended. The ancient truth as the battle raged. The archivist Mayan uncovered the last piece of the truth. Deep in forbidden records, hidden even from the council, lay the story of the first war. The shadow was not simply an enemy. It was older than the stars themselves. It had devoured galaxies before. It came not to conquer but to consume. And Earth had not merely fought it once. Earth had been made for it. The defenders were not saviors by chance. They were the only weapon ever forged to resist the shadow. Their rage, their fire, their endless defiance, these were not flaws. They were the design. Humanity was born to fight the dark, but the question was whether even they were enough. Fury and desperation, the battle reached its height. Human fleets split into arcs of fire, striking at tendrils, carving holes through the storm. Some broke free, slamming into the shadow's body with explosions brighter than suns. Whole sections of the monster dissolved, collapsing into ash. But for every victory, losses mounted. Human voices faltered. Ships flickered out. The great vessel at the center dimmed, its glow weakening as if drained by the endless fight. The shadow laughed. It was not a sound, but the universe itself shook with it. You burn brightly, but even stars die. The edge of defeat for a moment, it seemed true. Human fleets pulled back. Light dimmed. The shadow spread once more, stretching across systems, devouring whole worlds as if they were crumbs. The Calith homeworld, already scarred, vanished in a single gulp. The insectoid Kith's colonies crumbled into dust. The Venar screamed as their seas boiled away. Everywhere, the galaxy collapsed, and still Earth fought on. The shadow gathered itself, coiling into a single mass. It grew darker, denser, pulling light from every direction. Suns dimmed, stars collapsed. The galaxy itself bent toward its weight. It prepared its final strike, one blow meant to end humanity forever. The defenders stood ready. Ships aligned, the great vessel glowed faintly, weaker than before, but still burning. And then across the minds of every living thing, a single human voice spoke. "Stand with us now, all of you, or this galaxy dies tonight." The galaxy held its breath. The shadow struck. The galaxy answered. Across 10,000 worlds, across shattered colonies and burning fleets, the human call was heard. It was not carried by ships. It was not carried by machines. It was felt in every living mind. Stand with us now, all of you, or this galaxy dies tonight. And for the first time in ages, the galaxy obeyed. On the world of Ashura, where oceans boiled under the shadow's reach, the Hruk stood as their mountains crumbled. They raised their stone fists to the sky, swearing their strength to earth. On the glass palaces of Solari, the queen shattered her throne and ordered every ship to fly. Her people, once silent, sang with one voice. Their song merged with humanity's fire. On the broken moons of the Venar, the reptilian tribes carved human symbols into their scales, declaring they would die as defenders, even the smallest. Weakest races, those who had been ignored by the Council, rose. They armed their old ships, they lit their old banners, and they flew toward the light. The shadow had enemies now. Not one race, not one world, but all of them. The union of fire, the battlefield shifted. Where before only human fleets had stood against the dark, now thousands of ships appeared. Hruk war barges, Solari crystal ships, insectoid hive ships, reptilian dart fighters all rose from the chaos, glowing with borrowed fire. For Earth had shared its gift. Every ally that swore loyalty felt the touch of the defenders. Their ships burned brighter, their minds grew sharper, their weapons struck with new force. They were no longer prey, they were soldiers. The galaxy had become an army. The battle rages, the shadow struck with fury. Its tendrils lashed across fleets, tearing hundreds of ships in a single sweep. Stars dimmed, moons split, worlds screamed. But now the counterstrike was stronger. The Hruk barges locked their shields, forming walls of stonelight that blocked the shadow's blows. Behind them, Solari crystal ships focused beams of pure energy, slicing through tendrils like glass cutting silk. The insectoid hive ships swarmed, darting into weak points, exploding in blinding sacrifice, and at the center of it all, Earth's defenders burned like a second sun. For the first time, the shadow slowed, the councils fall in the council chamber. The truth could no longer be hidden. The High Speaker stood alone as delegates fled. The chamber shook with every pulse of the war. The banners of the council fell from the walls, one by one, until only ash remained. The speaker whispered into the silence. The council is gone. The galaxy belongs to Earth now. He did not curse. He did not weep. He only bowed his silver head, as if in surrender, and in that surrender the age of the Council ended forever, the price of unity. The war was not without cost. On Ashura, the Hruk armies were torn apart. Mountains fell and rivers boiled. Whole clans died, holding the line so Earth's ships could strike. On Solari, the Queen herself led her fleets, her crystal body glowing with the fire of borrowed human light. She sang until her voice shattered. Her ship fell in pieces, but her people fought harder, refusing to let her sacrifice be wasted. Every ally bled. Every ally paid. Unity was bought with death. Humanity's fury. At the peak of the chaos, the great human vessel at the center opened again. From it poured not only light but figures, defenders stepping into the void. Not of flesh, not of metal, but of fire and will. They fought as no one had ever seen. They hurled stars like weapons. They carved tendrils with their bare hands. They stood on the hulls of broken ships, glowing brighter than suns. The galaxy cheered. The shadow screamed. For a moment it seemed victory was possible. The shadow's core, then the shadow revealed its heart. From the black storm, an eye larger than a world opened. It glowed not with light, but with endless hunger. From it poured a new wave of darkness, stronger than all before. The allied fleets shattered. Shields collapsed. Weapons fell silent. Whole worlds burned in an instant. The defenders struck at the eye, but the blows faded before they touched it. The shadow's heart was not a body. It was a wound in reality itself. It could not be destroyed with force. The ancient choice, the archivist Mayan's voice rang through the fleets, carried by the human link. I have read the first war. I have seen the end. The defenders cannot kill the shadow. They can only bind it. That was their purpose. That was Earth's curse, to hold the dark forever, to suffer in silence while others lived. The galaxy froze in terror. Victory was not salvation. Victory was sacrifice. If humanity bound the shadow again, they might vanish forever. Fury unleashed again. The humans did not hesitate. We will pay the price, their voices thundered. If the galaxy stands, we will fall. The fleets cried out, begging them to stop, begging them not to vanish. But humanity had already chosen. They unleashed everything. The defenders became fire itself. Their ships blazed, their forms stretched into stars, their voices shook the galaxy. They hurled themselves into the shadow's core, not to destroy, but to chain it once more. The shadow roared. Reality cracked. Worlds split, and the galaxy watched, helpless, as humanity began its final sacrifice. The galaxy screamed, stars bent. Worlds cracked, seas boiled. The shadow roared with hunger, thrashing against the chains of light that began to form around it. Humanity's fire burned brighter than ever, but even as they fought, their glow flickered. The defenders were fading. If they alone bore the weight, they would vanish forever. But then came the voices. The Solari Queen, broken and shining, sang in the void. The Hruk bellowed their war cry, their stone fists striking their shattered ships. The insectoid kith clattered their wings, their hive minds screaming unity. The reptilian Venar hissed their oaths. One by one, world by world, race by race. The galaxy joined the fire. Their voices merged with humanity's. Their strength flowed into the chains. The burden no longer belonged to Earth alone. The chains of light. The shadow writhed, its tendrils tearing across systems. Stars fell into darkness. Moons split like eggshells. Whole fleets vanished in black storms, but the chains held. They were not of metal. They were not of stone. They were forged from will, from rage, from sacrifice. They wrapped the shadow's limbs, binding its endless hunger, forcing it back toward the wound in reality from which it had come. The defenders led, their fire blazing at the front. But behind them, every ally poured their light, no matter how small. For the first time, the galaxy fought as one. The shadow's voice. The shadow spoke again. Its words tore through minds like knives. You think unity saves you. You think chains will hold me. But hunger does not end. Fire burns out. You delay, nothing more. Its voice made stars explode. Its laughter cracked whole worlds, but the galaxy answered. We are not delaying. We are deciding. And the chains tightened. Sacrifice, the cost was terrible. The Hruk barges crumbled, their shields shattering as they poured the last of their life into the fire. The Kith burned their hive queens, sacrificing generations to fuel the chains. The Venar drowned their own seas in flame, offering the last water of their worlds. The Solari Queen, glowing like a crystal sun, gave the final shard of her body to strengthen the bonds. Her light flickered, but her voice remained until the end, and the Defenders, Earth's children, burned brightest of all. They were not just ships anymore. They were pure will, pure fury, pure defiance. They were humanity's soul unleashed, the binding at the center of the galaxy, the shadow's eye closed, the chains wrapped tighter, pulling it back into the wound. Every tendril shrieked, every mouth howled. It fought with the weight of 1,000,000 suns. But the fire of unity held. The galaxy itself seemed to bend, stars aligning, planets trembling. Moons cracking under the strain, the wound began to close, the shadow roared one last time. You will regret this. And then it was gone. The chains sealed the wound. The darkness vanished. The stars shone again. The shadow was bound. The shadow's eye closed. Its tendrils writhed. The galaxy burned with light and darkness colliding. At the very last moment, as the chains began to form, a single voice broke through the chaos, not human, the Solari Queen. Her shattered form, still alive in the void, cried out, "No, not alone. We stand with you." All of us, her voice spread. The Hruk joined, the Venar, the insectoid Kith. Every ally who still lived shouted as one. The fire shifted. The chains changed. For the first time in history, humanity was not alone in its burden, and as the shadow screamed, the galaxy itself prepared to bind it. Silence. For the first time in an age, silence filled the galaxy. No screams, no hunger. Only the quiet breath of survivors. Ships drifted in ruins. Worlds lay broken. Fleets were gone. But the shadow was no longer among them. The Defenders had won, but the price was clear. The aftermath across the galaxy, races wept. Some for victory, some for what had been lost. The Hruk were nearly extinct. The Solari had no queen. The Kith hives were shattered. The Venar seas were dead. And Earth's fleets, those burning stars, were gone. The Defenders had vanished into the wound they had sealed. The galaxy stood. But humanity was silent. The Twistor, so it seemed. On the third day after the binding, when the stars had steadied and the wounds of the battle still bled, a pulse rippled across the galaxy. It was not hunger. It was not fire. It was calm, steady, human. A single voice echoed in every mind. We are not gone. We are within you now. Every world that stood with us carries our fire. Every race that fought with us carries our strength. The Defenders are not one people anymore. The Defenders are all of you. And in that moment, the galaxy understood. Humanity had not died. Humanity had become everyone. The new age, the Council, was no more. Its banners burned, its chambers silent. In its place rose a new symbol, the mark of the Defenders. A circle of fire, carried by every race, sworn by every fleet. The Solari, though broken, became the singers of memory. The Hruk, though few, became the shields of the weak. The Venar guarded the seas they no longer had, teaching others to cherish water. The Kith rebuilt their hives with fire at their core, and humanity, though unseen, lived in all of them. Every star carried their rage. Every world carried their will. The galaxy itself had become the Defenders. Final words at the edge of the rim, the archivist Mayan stood before a shattered sky. He recorded the last words of the old story and the first words of the new. The shadow came. The Defenders rose. The galaxy stood together and paid the price. Humanity gave its fire, and now we all burn with it. This is not the end. This is the beginning. He closed the book of the Council. He opened the book of the Defenders, and in the distance the stars burned brighter than ever. The shadow was bound. The galaxy was free for now.